This is Love, Sex, Food with Jigs and Prema. Welcome to episode 2 of Love, Sex, Food. I'm your co-host Jigs, along with my beautiful fiance and co-host Prema.
Hello.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm a bit tired.
You're a bit tired.
But I'm here for it.
You're here for
I'm
it.
here for it, yeah.
Well, episode 2 is going to be juicy because the name of this one is Divorce with Grace, How to End Well and Love Again.
Great title.
Great title, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last episode, in case you guys missed it, was me in the hot seat, how I went on 500 first dates, give or take, before finding and meeting my soulmate, Prema. But Prema's story is very different. She has described herself as a serial girlfriend, married young, raised 3 kids, spent 23 years in one relationship, and then had to learn how to love again. What's powerful is how she did it, with grace, with peace, and with her heart still open. Very different to my path, isn't it?
And well, you're a serial dater. I'm a serial girlfriend. This is the weirdness of this situation. But I'm really excited about this episode because many people have commented, and you know this when we go out, and said, wow, the way that you handle divorce, you're a badass. Like, that's super inspirational. And I don't always see it like that. So this episode for me is really close to my heart because I want everyone to have a beautiful, peaceful ending as well as an incredible start. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
So let's get cracking.
Okay.
Right.
I'm ready.
So when you said you were more of a serial girlfriend than a serial dater, can you share your early love and what your love life looked like? Your marriage at 26, your 3 kids by 30, and what that chapter taught you about love.
Okay. Well, the interesting thing was when you were talking to me and you were saying how you are a complete romantic. I'm basically exactly the same, which is why we both vibe. And so I absolutely wanted a boyfriend. That was like, yes, I can't wait. And I was super, super unpopular with the boys. I was so skinny. I was super tall. I was like 5'8" when I was about 10. I towered above like all the boys. So basically boys don't fancy girls that are taller than them.
Yeah.
We're just the weirdos. I had a horrendous perm that my mum made me have. Even when I absolutely protested, there was just no way I was getting out of that. Like Kylie had a great 80s perm. I don't know what mine was, but it was bad. Like I say, braces on my teeth, no boobs, everything. So I never felt very popular with boys. I got my first boyfriend when I was about 16 and he was amazing. And I went from having no relationship to being in a very intense relationship with a guy who was, he was all of the things. He was very dramatic. He was into writing and reading amazing books and used to give me poetry and write me love letters. And it really was the full romance. So I started to believe in love and that type of, real intimacy and romance in a very early age. And I think that I loved being a girlfriend. I've always said that to you. But I'm always saying to you how much I love being a wife. A wife and a mother, for me, they're my 2 favourite things. I just absolutely love it because both of them have the frequency of devotion. And I love devotion and commitment. I love intimacy. I love depth. So fast forward a bit, university, met my ex-husband Joe at law school. And yeah, we had a great fun. We hit it off. We had, shared similar values and passions. I was a lawyer, he was a lawyer, similar parents, similar what we wanted to work in the city. We had very similar very similar sense of humour. So we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of adventures. We went travelling together. And yeah, before I knew it, I kind of ended up moving in with him, getting married. And very soon after getting married, ended up being unexpectedly pregnant with my daughter, Emily, a little happy accident whilst I was traveling in Peru. And so we were a family. So we went from 2 to 3 very, very fast, much quicker than we thought. And so obviously when you have children, that does change your relationship. So to be honest, I don't think I really had a proper chance to get to know Joe. And I said to you this the other day that really our whole relationship was defined as being parents. And we were brilliant parents. We are brilliant parents. We really were like good cop, bad cop, yin and yang. And I think our children, you know my kids, they're a really good representation of that. They've got the kind of kookiness, independence, confidence and creativity of me, but they're also like good in integrity. They're very good they do their best. They show up and they're great human beings. They got really good values as well. Like you said, kindness and compassion. So we moved very quickly into the vibe of parenting, and we actually really thrived at that. Yeah, and I feel that the time that I was married, I was very happy. Like I always say this to you, I was very happily married until the day that I wasn't, and then the day that I wasn't, I had a conversation about that.
So just actually that kind of just set this up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when your 23-year marriage or relationship came to an end, what was the moment of truth like? How did you manage to know it was time to let go?
Well, I think, like with all long-term relationships, there's ebbs and flows and there's seasons. And sometimes there's more support for one person and more support for others. I would say the first 10 years of our marriage was a lot of like in the trenches with the kids and lots of co-parenting. The second 10 years, there was a slightly like moving in different directions because I love entrepreneurship. I was being very creative in my business. I went to Malawi to set up my charity. So I was going in one direction and Joe was going in another direction. And those, to be honest, if it was like a Venn diagram, we were like 2 circles that kind of overlapped. The bit that was overlapping was started to move more and more away. And so the only thing really in the overlap by the end of that second 10 years was the kids. Yes, we were still having fun. We really were having fun. I'm not gonna lie about that. There wasn't that we didn't argue. It was very odd. There was nothing fundamentally about each other that meant that we couldn't get on and enjoy life, but our values and what we wanted for the future had vastly changed from when we were 23. And so we had to sort of have a conversation. It was a bit like the elephant in the room. And I think that the conversation we had was, where do you kind of see yourself in the future? And we realized that it was very different places. It was becoming more apparent that my idea of like what I was doing with my spare time was really different to Joe's, and we couldn't really find a middle ground. And so it was in that place. It was like a very gentle nudges from the universe that things weren't aligned by very simple choices we were making about where we would put in the time and our energy. So there was no big explosions, nothing, no one was grumpy with anybody else. It was just a gentle movement that reflected 23 years of being with somebody. Of course, who we were when I was 23, he was 27, is going to be vastly different from 46 and 49. There was just that's a fact. Those 2 versions of us completely disappeared. And I think if we were honest now, if we both met each other, even though we very much loved each other for that time, we wouldn't date each other now in a million years. We would. And that is so reflective in the fact that his new partner is perfect for him and you are absolutely perfect for me.
Thank you. I mean, I think that shows a massive amount of maturity and emotional intelligence, because when you do meet someone that young, when you really don't know what you like and what they like, and suddenly you like what they like and they like what you like, it just becomes kind of intertwined. And the older you become and the path that you go on, if you have similar well, if you don't have similar interests and you're not aligned and you want different things in life, well, we only have one life to live. So I think happiness is massively important. And I definitely know that you find freedom as your top value in life. So kind of just moving on, a question would be is that because obviously your divorce, the way you divorce your relationship now with your ex-husband, you're still parenting three incredible children who I have the utmost of love and respect for. For those out there that are listening, and I know we're speaking about this because you also want to help women who might be scared to end a relationship because divorce feels too big. What would you say to them?
Well, I think you have to think to yourself, is it fair to be in a relationship with someone who you're no longer in love with? Is it fair to go out and talk about your partner and say, my partner's doing this or my partner's doing that to other people if you're not prepared to have that conversation with that person? If that's you and you're listening here, there's probably something you need to kind of bring to the table with your partner and not be afraid of that. Because I know it's huge. It's absolutely huge to get divorced when you've been with someone for so long. Even, it's not even about length of time. And you're in with someone in it and you're in deep, you're so enmeshed, I spent more time in a family with my ex-husband than I did with my own family because I was 18 years living at home, 23 years living with him. So it's the thought of it is horrendous. And it's like, I won't be able to breathe. Like, how will I exist? Like, it's so different. And then, of course, you've got other things like financials and where am I going to live? And, what's going to happen to the kids and all of this. But all of that actually is secondary to the fact that if you are living a lie and you are not being honest with your partner and yourself, you cannot create authentic connection and intimacy when you're just lying. It's just, you have to tell the truth. You have to be honest. And that honest conversation, can totally blow your whole life up. Which, again, I'm not going to say that when I first split with my ex-husband, it was pretty traumatic. I would say at least the first 6 months, I would just spontaneously burst into tears for no reason all of the time because I was just in actual pain. Then the second 6 months was kind of getting over it a little bit. And then after about 18 months, that was about the first time where I felt kind of half normal. And then it's just like a healing process from there. So I think that it's really important. The number one thing in life is to be honest. If you can be honest with yourself and other people, you're home, you're safe, you're not running from anything, you're not hiding from anything, you're not wearing a mask, you're being true. And when you're true, you have a sense of peace. If you're not being true, you'll always be avoiding, people pleasing, looking for your love elsewhere. And that's why sometimes people cheat or become workaholics or create all sorts of other coping techniques or methods. It's really about being honest. That's the truth of the matter.
Also, to kind of let our listeners know is that when this happened, this was just before COVID, right?
Yeah.
So you had to not only manage a separation, a divorce, 3 kids, plus a flipping epidemic.
Yeah.
And there's never a right time, is there?
No, I mean, actually, weirdly, it was kind of quite good timing because
The eternal optimist here.
No, because we got locked in together then, me and the kids. So we had to forge this new family unit. And Joe was close by, but up the road, obviously he was seeing the kids because they were in a bubble. But we had this time where we got locked in and I was able to I feel like it was a gift. I was sort of able to usher the kids into this new phase of our family because it was a family. That's the point. We're still a family. You're never going to I'm never going to be able to say that Joe's not in my life because he's the father of my kids and he's always part of my family. That bubble of COVID that we had meant that I could really be there for the kids. And, you know, I can't speak on behalf of my kids. I'm sure it was difficult and I did the best I can do. And that's all you can ever do as a parent. You can't fix it. You can't make it any better, but it did give me an opportunity to at least be more present and to have a sense of creating a new family unit, which anyone listening, you will find a new vibe and you will find a new way to be as a family. It's important to stay connected rather than kind of sever and go, okay, that's it, it's over. You don't have to do that. That's just something that we see in soap operas and dramas and books and this, that, and the other. It doesn't have to be like that.
I mean, you're and I will I'm just touch on this again, and I'm sure that we'll speak about this in future episodes about your relationship with your kids, but you have such a beautiful relationship with them. Your daughter sees you as her best friend. You know, the kind of just the openness that they have with you, that they can speak to you about anything. It's absolutely brilliant. So I just want to give you props for that because it's brilliant.
I love them. They're cool. They're really cool. And I had so many fun memories with them when actually we were in that period, like holidays where it was me and then they brought all their mates. So it'd be like me on holiday with like 9 teenagers hanging out and like, yeah,
a couple of them are coming to the wedding, aren't they?
Oh, loads. It's like, they're like, whoa, yay, she's getting married. We want to be there and celebrate. Yeah. So like that's the thing, is like, those experiences I had with my kids, they wouldn't have been there if I'd actually still been married, because otherwise often, you know, you're a couple and it's like, you know, mum and dad and the kids.
Yeah.
Well, when it was just mum, it was like I became part of the the kind of gang, which I loved. It's not for everybody. I totally get it, going on holiday with you know, 9 teenagers, but I loved it. I had fun.
So kind of after you came to terms with the divorce and the separation, I think the next part is like, how did you keep your heart open to love again instead of closing down after such a long relationship? Because I think it could always, you know, one of the big stoppers for people ending a relationship is them thinking, will they ever find love again? Will they be lonely? Therefore, it's better to stay with someone and be unhappy than to be alone and single and potentially be lonely.
Yeah. Well, it was a little bit tricky, like I said. Initially, I'm not going to lie, it hurt like hell. And so you want to keep your heart closed because it's, like you said, heartbreak. We just spoke about that. It's like the worst thing ever. So I tried to kind of hold it together. Did a lot of crying. I did a lot of, like, I don't know. I felt a lot. I think I managed to go through it by allowing myself to feel all of the feelings. And then obviously later on, you know, in the last couple of years, I've become a tantra teacher. So I've really learned about the importance of being total. So if you're feeling sad, be totally sad. In fact, go towards it. Like I used to have this playlist of songs. It was like, I can't remember what it was called, something like Cry Your Eyes Out. And then when I felt sad, I'd like bash that on and then totally go for it, like ugly crying, everything. And then you just felt so much better. Equally, I've got my little Cali rage playlist when I would just like, fucking hell, like, ugh! And I'd go towards that. But that I've developed that over the years as I've studied Tantra. But the thing is that you have to let your heart process everything. So I believe your heart is this center of emotion, that everything you feel comes through your heart. So if you only say, I'm only going to feel the good stuff, where is the other stuff going? And actually, why do we even say that something's good and something's bad? It's all energy. It's all just moving through. It's all what's arising in the moment. It's all teaching us about what we like and we don't like. And it's all part of being human. So I think that by allowing myself to feel everything, I kept my heart open. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm hopeful. I love experience. I do see everything as an expansion. I try not to label things as good and bad. I try to take the learning from everything that I do. And so I just thought to myself, okay, if it's not this, it will be something better. It will be this or better.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then when something felt good, I just did more of it. And in the end, my heart just became full again. My heart was this channel for love. And I just enjoyed it more.
Well, thank you for that. It's even though I know the story, it's really fascinating to hear it again. So I'm sure our listeners will really enjoy this. And for those of you who are kind of toying with some really tough and deep and meaningful questions that need to be answered, reach out. You can find us on our socials at Love Sex Food on Instagram, and give us a like, just give us a share. This was episode 2 of Getting Down and talking to Prema about her divorce with Grace and how it all ended with love, and just, the kind of the beauty that's accepting of something that's ending and looking at the optimism of a new beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the thing. In order to start something new, things have to end. You need to clear the soil to plant the new seeds. And sometimes you've got to do that. The most rich and fertile soil is often the one that has had everything burnt down on it. And the burning down is scary, but I'm here to be a living example that you can go on to do so much more. And if this helps someone out there who's listening, if you were thinking, shit, I'm in an unhappy relationship, what am I going to do? Then have the courage today. As I said, be honest with yourself, be truthful. And if you're in a relationship that's now broken down and you're not feeling a sense of peace, how can you get to a sense of peace within? When you've got a sense of peace within, guess what? It's reflected out. So stay tuned for more tips on this and more stories, more learnings, more honesty, and whatever arises in the next episode.
Absolutely. As we don't always have the answers, but we come from a place of experience and knowledge and really just a place of love. So on that note, we want to thank you for listening. Episode 2 is done. As I said earlier, give us a like and a follow on Instagram or at Love Sex Food. And we will be back with episode 3 very shortly. I'm sure it'll be something juicy that kind of just we come up with. So have a wonderful evening, guys, and we'll catch you on the other side.
See you later.